Greetings, hello, and welcome everyone to Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition on the PS5. Kind of interesting to hear that another Age of whatever game has come to PlayStation consoles. Last one I covered was Age of Mythology on PS5. This one's AoE 2, probably the most popular one. Let's go ahead and dive in here. The purposes of this video is we are going to be looking at how the controller scheme works, the user interface, just some general impressions, and then I will actually get into more detailed things like how to use the controller the best, at least for me. Maybe that can be helpful to you, as well as trying out keyboard and mouse on console as well. All of that will be in upcoming videos, so be sure to check out the channel. Let's go ahead and dive into this 1v1 game on Coastal. All right, so here we are, AoE 2 on the PS5. Already I can see that this seems to be pretty similar, unsurprisingly, to what we see on the Xbox versions. You're moving around with your left analog stick. There is some what's called magnetism, where if your cursor gets close to, say, a villager, or even maybe not actually the building, but on a unit, your cursor will automatically select it. That's to make things a lot easier. What's going to be probably critical to your use of units and things in AoE 2 is the radio menus that open up. Holding R2 will open up a bunch of radio menus for a lot of these units. Now, AoE 2 comes with something called Auto Scout. You're going to start with a scouting unit in the game, and Auto Scout will be that this unit will just run around and discover more of the map. Now, you can get kind of by this cattle here, and that becomes under your control. You can harvest it for resources. But I generally, when you're starting out, just select X on your scout to auto scout, and he will go ahead and do that. Now, look, I got a trophy for doing so. You can hold X to create a radial paintbrush. I'm getting all sorts of trophies. Look at that. Dadgum. What is this all doing? Sink 10 enemy ships with... I don't even know how to pronounce that. As the Dravidians. I don't know if that is correct or not, because this is the first time I've played this. All right. Anyway, we'll move on. I mean, what even are some of these? Train 10 chakram throwers as the you know what? Just forget it. I'm just gonna pretend that I have done this before with those achievements. I clearly have not. Now, AoE 2, you can toggle what's called can you toggle auto villager? That might be an AOM thing, and I do apologize. But you can create villagers by clicking X on your town center, R2 once again for the radio menu, and then X on your villagers. You can actually see a progress bar of that, both on the radio menu and on the left-hand side. It gives you a percentage, which is cool.
Ready.
By pressing X from the building, you're creating what's called a rally point, and that's where your villagers are going to go to. You'll see your resources at the top. It is flashing on this 5 out of 5 with the house. That means we're at our maximum population. We cannot train additional units until we build more population. How you do that is resolved by building more houses. You can do that two ways. You can select one villager or multiple villagers. The more villagers you have building something, of course, the faster it will go. You hold the R2 button, and then there's a house. You can move your cursor up to the top, 12 o'clock, and then X on the house, and you will give you a preview to do that, or a shortcut. It shows you kind of towards the bottom center. There's triangle. Triangle, you'll just immediately pull up a house. And to rotate it, I couldn't tell you how I do that. I know some of you are really into that sort of thing. It might be an AoE 2. You can't rotate buildings, if I remember correctly. That might be an AOM thing only. But they'll build the house. Once the house is done, you can see we now have additional 5 population, and we can now build more villagers. Just as triangle is to build a house when you select a villager, clicking on a town center, triangle is how you train villagers. You can kind of see a new queue of villagers there. Now, these villagers need some tasks to do.
Yes.
And that's how you build your economy, and that's how you can kind of progress through the ages and things like that. There are multiple ways that we can kind of make this happen. First is you manually move your villagers and tell them to do things. To get to the next stage, we're going to need, I think in AoE 2 we need a barracks. I actually don't know if it'll tell you here. Did I just kill Wheelbarrow? You know what? This is actually kind of interesting. Is how do we get to the next stage? I mean, I know I see it up there. I guess it's not going to let us do it until we get to the amount of resources. But then the question is shouldn't the game tell you the amount of resources that you need? Unless I'm blind here, you can let me know in the oh, there it is, feudal age. Okay, it's kind of hidden actually behind that prompt. I don't know if I like that. 2 Dark Age buildings. It has highlighted kind of what you need. That's a lumber camp, a mining camp, a mill, a dock, or a barracks. You can kind of do whichever you please. So kind of going back to my point, you can achieve this by doing a few ways. One is you can manually tell your villagers to do tasks yourself, which is obviously what you do on PC. Luckily on console, there is what's called villager priorities. That's what clicking R3 does. And it's going to pop up this menu. And these are various resources that the game is suggesting you to do for your villagers. So we want to get to the second age. Mostly we're going to need wood and food. So if we press X right there, give it a couple of seconds, you're going to see all of the villagers will start doing tasks based on that pie chart. You can see it's mostly food and a little bit of wood, and that's kind of exactly what these villagers are doing. And they're going to continue doing that task, I think, for the rest of the game. Now, we are going to need to continue building villagers, but we don't have the food for doing that. As they drop off that food, I'm going to be able to get the resources, and now I can kind of train a villager. Q5 villagers at the town center in the Dark Age. I'm just getting all of the strangest achievements here. But nonetheless, we're going to train as many villagers as reasonably possible.
Ready.
And they're going to go off and do their own thing. Now, drop-off buildings, that's where your villagers will drop off resources at particular locations. Your town center, anyone can drop off anything at your town center. A mill, only villagers can drop off food at a mill. Only wood, they can drop off at a lumber camp, and so on. Now, I had thought that they do drop off buildings automatically by the resources that they're nearby, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So you see this villager, he has to walk all the way from these berries all the way to this town center and back to drop off those resources. You may not think that that's a big deal, but the time that that villager is spending walk back and forth is a complete waste of time. It's not really something that is valuable for the villagers. So the way you solve this is you want to build a mill very close. So say like right there. And even tell that villager to do that too. And what's going to end up happening is now they're going to go from the berries to the mill to drop that off and then right back to the berries. We're going to eliminate so much idle time that these villagers are going to have on this return trip, increasing their efficiency. And I'm going to be getting resources a whole lot faster by doing so. And we'll see them drop off here shortly. You want to make sure with the game that you are always training villagers. If you are not training villagers, you really should. Increasing your villagers increases your economy, that increases your military, and that should help you win the game. Very rarely are you going to win a game in AoE 2 with a much weaker economy than your opponent. The easiest way to do that is to keep training more villagers. The game will suggest as time goes on, you build more than one town center. Because right now I'm only training one villager at a time. If I have 2 town centers, I can train 2 villagers at a time. So on and so forth. You're just going to have to keep in mind that the more that you invest building town centers, you're going to need resources for that. And those resources you're spending on town centers, you're not spending on your military. So it is a risk-reward type play, as is almost every decision you make in Age of Empires, is the decisions you're making for your civilization going to help you win the game. The easiest way to kind of figure out if the decisions are good or not is to scout your opponent. Let's kind of see what the opponent over here is doing. I still have auto scout turned on. We can see they have a lot of farms. Dadgum, that's a lot of farms. So he is getting a lot of food real close to his town center. He has a lumber camp, so we know that he is chopping wood right here. That might be a raidable target for our infantry later on. And he's also got a lumber camp way over here as well, which is kind of interesting. You can zoom in and out as you please. You can zoom out incredibly far in this game on console, which is really cool. You can also use L2, and you see the direction will come up to select individual type of units. So just by pressing down, we're selecting all cav. You can kind of do that as well with other things. When you release L2, you can press down to immediately jump to your town center. Also, right takes you to any livestock that may be under your control that you may not be aware of. You can also press and hold down these directionals to select all of those sorts of things. So if you want to select all of your town centers, let's say you have 2 of them, by pressing and holding down on the D-pad, you can do so. Also, same thing with military. If you're from Halo Wars, you want to select all units, all military units, just press and hold the left directional button, and you will select all of them. It's flashing 1. That means we have enough resources and met the requirements to age up, so we will do that by clicking our town center, going to the advanced feudal age, and clicking age up. Let's get to age 2, and we'll see how we do in the next age. All right, here we are. We are now in the feudal age. That's age 2. What aging up does is it allows us to build more buildings, build more complex units, and getting some new upgrades that will help benefit our civilization. You can also see the buildings get a little bit more advanced too, which is cool as the game kind of progresses. We can now build the better military units and get some upgrades for them. So we have militia here. I'm playing as the Britons. I probably should have explained that a long time ago. But you can build militia. When you highlight these individual units, you can kind of see these dots, kind of that blue line kind of around the circle. It's a semicircle. And there's 4 empty dots here on the militia. And then there's 2 down here on the spearmen. To my understanding, that's the upgrades. And that's what Square does. 100 food, 40 gold will upgrade that. And we should see that first dot kind of be fulfilled there. I'm going to go ahead and actually start mining some gold right there so we can start getting some upgrades. And I do need to transition over to farms. You can queue things up by holding L2. That's probably something I'll cover a little bit more in the advanced tutorial that I'll be doing with the controller. But long story short, let's say I have 2 villagers and I want them both to build 2 farms total. If I don't want to do it individually, well, while I have both of them selected, I'm going to hold R2. Here's the farm. I press X. Now I have the farm selected. Well, I need 2 of these. Well, in order to queue this up, L2 is the queue up button. So while I'm holding L2, I'm going to press X here. While I'm still holding L2, you can see I still am able to plant another farm. So I'm going to just do that there. Now I have 2 farms. And then just circle to kind of back out of this menu. You're going to see both of these villagers will build this farm. The one lady, or I guess the gentleman, will stop. That's kind of rude of him, actually. To stop building the farm and start farming. And then leave the lady to build this farm all by herself, which again is rude. And then now she'll get to work as well. In AoE 2, the farm system works a little different compared to later games like Age of Mythology and AoE 4, where farms actually have a limited number of food. You can click on the farm and see at the bottom of your screen how much food is left. Now, if you have, let's make some more villagers over here to wood. If you have enough wood and resources, you can have your villagers automatically replant these farms. You can do so by going to your mill and toggling on, I don't know why that description is freaking out like that. It's actually kind of hilarious. To toggle it on, I think it's automatically on, actually. And then you can also get this, where new farms provide 75 food. That's about the cost of 1 farm. I highly recommend you do that. And now we'll have a reliable source of income for our wood. And our food, I should say. Excuse me. All right, now we're starting to build some military units, and we can kind of start making some noise. We have a few man-at-arms, which I think they look so cool. I've always loved how they've looked. You can select all units again by hitting and holding left on the D-pad. So you're going to select all of your units. Now, there's a couple of ways to move in this game. I know it's going to sound confusing, but it makes sense. Age of Empires utilizes something called regular moving and then attack moving. Regular moving is you're going to just literally go to that location that you've selected, and you do that with your X button. And like how I said earlier with the farms, you can queue this up. Like, say I want them to move here and then, like, over to this tree. If I tell them just to go to this tree, they're going to skip moving here. So you fix that by holding L2, and now you can kind of queue up movements. They're not actually doing it. Oh, there they go. It took a second. Maybe it was a skill issue there. So that's queuing up regular movements. Again, by pressing X, you're going to regularly move your units. But if you're going to come across an enemy, if you do a regular move, you're not going to veer off. Your units will not veer off and attack them immediately. You have to manually tell them to attack. You can kind of see my cursor changes. So if I'm running, say, right by this mill here, see how my units just aren't attacking the mill? There is something in Age of Empires called attack moving. And at the bottom of your screen, that's kind of what square is showing you. It looks like a sword with a couple of lines, arrows pointing around it. So if I hit square right here, you can kind of see those units kind of peel off and start attacking that mill. That's because I did what's called an attack move. Meaning they're going to move to wherever I told them to move. But if there is a target to attack along the way, they are going to do that. The two different types of movements are very important, and it's going to take some getting used to. It took me quite a few matches to kind of get the hang of when does it work best for me to do a regular movement versus an attack movement. And the game will help you with this, and you're just going to have to play against the AI, maybe even some multiplayer matches to utilize what works best for you and kind of go from there. So, like, let's say I just want to run by these villagers with X. They're not going to do anything. He's going to garrison. Oh, no, he's not. So I'm just kind of running by these villagers. They're not attacking them. But let's say I hit square right there. He's going to garrison because I'm attacking him, and these machine gun villagers are going to be in the tower and mow down my units. So there is a difference between that. When you do attack someone, they, of course, are alerted of the attack that you've done. And that can kind of be something of value to you, whether or not you should or should not do an attack move or not. By and large, I think we're probably getting to a decent point in the video where I don't want to overwhelm you with too much information. This was, again, really just to be general impressions and tips and tricks for the game, and I hope you have found it valuable. I am going to continue doing advanced and more advanced guides, both with the controller, gamepad, as well as generally in the game, and trying mouse and keyboard here for AoE 2 on the PS5. Just keep in mind the basics. You want to be usually always training villagers, making sure you have the population with houses to continue building units. Build multiple production buildings, whether that's military, so multiple barracks, so we can train units twice or even 3 at a time. More town centers where you can train multiple villagers at a time. Make sure you're getting the resources that you think are valuable. I have 2,400 gold at this time. These villagers are really not providing a whole lot of value to me when I have that much gold. They could probably provide value to me doing something else, like maybe chopping wood or getting food or something. You can also use this find menu, L1. This is kind of really self-explanatory. Hold the cross button, that's X to select all of them. You can press X just to select one of them. You can kind of see I have done that here by pressing X on these various things. You can also use that if you hit triangle to rotate to find units. Find all land military units, non-siege land military units. Find all archers, infantry, villagers. You know, these are all very helpful to you throughout the game, and this is meant to kind of help you ease the overwhelming micromanagement that you might have to do on various games. If you want to see more, there is more coming, but there is also already various tutorials on the Xbox version. If you don't want to wait for me to make the PS5 versions of these videos, I do have Xbox impressions for everything we're going to go over here on the PS5, but it's good to kind of redo these for the specific console you might be interested in. All right, that's going to do it for me. Thank you all so much for watching, everybody, And I'll see you, James.